Hey everybody, welcome to another Probably Private. I'm Catherine Jarmal, and today we're going to talk about how can you use Claude Code with local models. So I've been doing this for about a month and a half now. I've been mainly using it for research, but I've been trying to build things that I find useful. I've built some little projects and scripts. I've had it help me with some Docker images. I've had it help me debug some setup questions, other things like this. So I'm feeling much more comfortable with it. And I'd like to show you my workflow to help you understand maybe why do I use local models? Why not just pay for a Claude subscription or per API use? And B, some of the quirks you'll run into because I've been comparing back and forth between paying for Claude and using a local model on my GPU machine. If you're new here, you might want to check out my introduction to my home lab to get an idea for what type of machine. And that's, I guess, maybe a good starting point is I think a lot of people run into bad experiences with Claude Code because they're running Claude Code on the same machine that they're running their machine learning model. And you're going to see I have a totally different setup. And of course, it's extremely luxurious to be able to have a separate machine. But in the long run, if you're spending like $1,000 a month on Claude Code credits or other things like this, it's perhaps worth thinking about investing in a local machine and just trying it out. You could start small and go further. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's go through my workflow. In the morning, I log into my NAS and I wake up two machines over Wake on LAN. What is Wake on LAN? It means everything's connected via my local router here. Just your at-home router can do this. You don't have to get anything fancy, your networking router. You can install Wake on LAN if you're running Linux or whatever it is that you're doing. And this is my NAS machine, which I also have a video on. NAS is network attached storage. So this is where a lot of my data lies that I want to back up and keep safe. So, but it also connects to the other machines. And this is the only machine that's on all the time because you should also let your machines rest. It's good for their health and good for your health to not be programming all the time. Okay, so we're going to wake up this one. This is just, there's some quirks for getting Wake on LAN working, but I have those also in one of the blog posts. So I'll link that and I'm going to wake up these two machines. Why two machines? Right now, this first one, that's my GPU machine. So it should be booting up in the other room right now. And then the second one is actually where I've been running Claude Code. Why have I been running Claude Code on a separate machine? I don't trust Claude Code. There's going to be a video coming showing why. So showing that my intuition was correct to not trust Claude Code. If you're using Claude Code on your computer, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. You got to do you. But what I am here to tell you is that's why I bought a separate machine to run Claude Code. I'm a privacy and security researcher. I am a little bit side-eye with some of these paradigms, and there'll be more coming on the content of whether you're using Claude Code on your real machine, on a separate machine, in a VM, whatever it is that you're doing. I'll have some upcoming videos on some of the things I've found by observing Claude Code. Okay, then in another terminal, I'm gonna log into my agent machine. So this is the machine where I run Claude Code. It's also where I've been experimenting with some agent frameworks. So expect some videos coming up on kind of my review and analysis of some of the agent frameworks and maybe some tips on how to build privacy and security into your agent workflows. And here I have a folder for Claude stuff, and we can take a look. So we'll go into my masterclass. If you don't know, by the way, and if your work might sponsor you to do so, I have an upcoming class all about building privacy into these types of AI systems It starts pretty soon by the time this video comes out. So I'll drop a link if you want to join. It's going to be like this very small cohort where we really work together on building out privacy on a use case by use case thing. And this masterclass has some of the notebooks that we'll be looking at. So we'll get Claude to give us an idea of what's going on there. Okay, and then I gotta log in to my other machine. This is my GPU machine. And then from my GPU machine, here, I'll show you, hold on, I'll show you what's going on. I have Llama CPP. There's going to be a video on that. Actually, probably there will already be a video on that. I have Llama CPP running. I also have used VLLM. Why both? Honestly, I think it depends on what models you're using. I find VLLM to be a bit faster. I don't know if that's true. I haven't actually measured it, but I think VLLM is good. I use it when I'm trying to do text and document-based tasks, perhaps also with images. I tend to use VLLM when I know I'm going to be sending a bunch of text right after another. So I have some scripts that I've set up that do things like take a whole bunch of text, summarize it, and store it away. When I'm doing stuff like that, where I know I'm going to be using every slot of my LLM, I use VLLM. When I'm doing code, I use Llama CPP. Because Llama CPP works out of the box without problem with the GGUF models. What words is she talking? GGUF? I forget actually what it stands for, but it's the quantized models. So we have the real models, and then we have organizations or people that have taken these real models, and they basically go through a fine-tuning process, and they make the model smaller in the parameters. So they take a parameter, maybe that's 32 bits, or 64 bits, and they make it down to 4, 5, these types of things. And that means you lose information. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I work in unlearning and privacy and differential privacy, and this is certainly a way that we can reduce information, but it also obviously reduces the model size. So my local computer has 32 gigs. And that means I can run some of these really cool new models in quantized form on this machine. So let's take a look at what models I'm working with. I got my configs for my Llama CPP all in a config file here. And let's actually look at it so you can see maybe it will do some highlighting. Yes, okay. I have this config file, and that means I can run a Llama server that will be able to switch between these models. Not super well, as in sometimes a model that I've been using for a while has taken up a bunch of the memory, and sometimes it doesn't exactly transition super easily between models. But generally, I've been able to switch between models. And then I have here the Hugging Face repo name. Jinja is true will help with things like tool calls, other stuff like that, so that the Jinja templates can be used with the model. I have a temperature. I have a context size of 256,000 tokens for my GLM4 flash, and also for Qwen 3535. So that's Qwen 3.5, 35 billion quantized. And we see here I have quantized 4XL, I have quantized 5XL. I have my top P, my min P, and I forget what FA means. But most of these things, what I've done is I've gone to the Unsloth page, the model page on Hugging Face. I've read through the docs. I've decided, do I want to take the parameters they suggest, or do I want to change any for what I like or what I want to test out? And you might want to test, right? Things like we've talked about it in a previous video, things like temperature, top P, top K, I think I have here for Qwen. you can experiment, right? You can try it out and see what works for you. And I think that's one reason why I really like serving models locally. Yes, you can do it also in the Claude interface, but most people don't, right? So if you're running things locally, you're really experimenting. I have some other models that I looked at. Qwen 3 Code or Next I was using in the beginning. I didn't like it as much as I liked Qwen 3.5. And then I also have some Gemma models. And let me go through what's my normal model use. I've been testing out this GLM for Flash because everybody loves it. I think it's really good at debugging. So when I have a debugging problem, I sit there with GLM for Flash. It does 4.7 Flash, by the way. Honestly, I don't like it as much for like planning out the code and implementing it. I kind of like Qwen 3.5 35. But again, I'm just a weird data science person. So if you're like super into Rust programming or something, I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm obviously not the same type of programmer. And I was using this for a long time too, Qwen 3 Code or 30. But then once I really got used to 3.5, 35, it's my go-to now. And then I use Gemma. Y'all know, if you've been following, I really like my Gemma models for my writing and my thinking. And I use Gemma when, for example, I'm just tired of coding and I want to switch and like think out loud about the project plan. And then B, I use it to do things like edit the readmes, add extra docs for me, maybe help me think, hey, I'm thinking of making slides for this particular notebook. Can you help me think through what slides would go with this notebook? It's not there for coding. It's just there for thinking and writing with, and maybe suggesting things I should write. So I switch between these to get your Llama CPP running. Here, let me try to make this here so you can read it more easily. I have my model preset that points to my config. I have a sleep. I have the host pointing to 0000. This means it's going to be available across my local network. And then I have what port I'm running it on. You can pass extra things here. And again, this is the Llama server call. So when you build it, so I've built this to my server. When you build it, you can decide those things. Okay, so here we can see all the stuff that we have loaded. It's going to get started up. And at this point in time, I can go over and I can start exporting my environment variables because I just turned this on. Okay, so actually I've been intercepting my traffic. So I'll put it so you can see it. So I'm going to change my Anthropic base URL. I'm going to change my default models. So let's just use GLM Flash because that's what I was using last. Default Opus, and there's a default Haiku. Why do this? This is because the problem is that Claude Code has some sneaky ways, I would call it an anti-design pattern, where some of the functionality is tied to these variables. So you're using a local model. You've already said, okay, here's the URL. And then it will go, oh, I need the Haiku model. It's like, I didn't ask for that, but it will just do it anyways. This will help some of that. A, it won't automatically fail when those things happen. And B, it will help make sure that some of these in-between steps that Claude Code does will just hopefully work. There's environment variables. There's a few more I've had a chance to look at and set. There's one for like being less verbose. There's a few other things you might want to think about. But I would say this is the bare minimum, and this is kind of where I start. You have your Llama CPP running. You have your Claude setup running. Claude Code is already installed here. So if you don't have that, get it set up. And I also have some pretty intense sandboxing on the Claude Code here right now because I've been, again, researching. Let's load it up. Claude Code thinks I'm called Martian, so that's fine. And then what were we going to do? Oh, we're going to say, can you look through these Jupyter notebooks and break down different sections you think would go well for teaching? Okay, we don't worry about typos. It's going to go through, it's going to do that stuff. I mean, I could have had it write code for me too. That's probably what you're here for, but I promise you it works. And you can use the O to toggle and take a look through thinking. It's going to start running all of that. And at the same time here, we can take a look over how is our Llama CPP folder going. It's going back and forth. It's showing me the progress, and it's, yeah, just working. Tool calling. So I know a bunch of people have experienced poor tool calling when it comes to having their local setup work. One thing that I've done that has helped me with tool calling is there are some quirks with Llama CPP and certain models. So first you need to look from Unsloth. Do they think tool calling works? Are there different variables for tool calling? And then the other thing, now I'm back on my machine, there's some templates you can install and use. So Llama CPP, I mean, development is choice, and they also have so many contributors. I always find either an open issue, a closed issue, some discussion that goes into whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And for GLM 4.7 Flash, this is the Jinja file that works for me for Claude Code tool calling most of the time. Do all the tool calls work? No. Some of that might be because right now I have some pretty intense sandboxing. So I think some of the tool calls might be failing at intermediary steps, which I am blocking. That's fine. I can update you on that. But there are some weird things in Claude Code that are extremely specialized for Anthropic models. How the tool calling works, how the software works. And I think that's causing a lot of the problems. What I have noticed is I've now been experimenting with open code, and open code tool calling has worked completely out of the box for me. So hat tip to the open code people. Let's see, we've been going back and forth. What's going on over here? Was reading through all my stuff. So we're going to go through. We've been going through. It's been reading all the things. It's talking about how cool the class is. I hope to see you there. Okay, so got done thinking. It's giving me the little breakdown and telling me everything. Thankfully, it likes my progression that I already chose. So going through different modules, and these modules seem to skip some notebooks. So I'll have to take a look at what it thinks. So here, can you write me a small Python function that says, hey, input name? Let's go. So we can get some Python code examples. But just to show you, this all took 9 minutes for everything. What I've noticed is, yeah, it can be a bit faster using Claude Anthropic background, but you're having the trade-off of, I've found it's not that much faster. I should do a post of like exactly measuring 1-to-1. And B, I'm not sending the data to an external cloud service. So I can really work on, for example, for my work, I can work on client code and guarantee clients that it does not leave my house. I can work on new ideas that I think I'd rather not have on Anthropic, whatever the retention policy. And I can also do it when I'm working remotely over VPN and things like this and make sure that that's all that way. And I also don't pay money for it. So we'll have a separate video about token bloat that I notice in Claude Code because it uses an exceptional amount of tokens. So more soon. But I will also be showing you open code, which I'm starting to learn about. So here we go. We got our thing, and we can yes end. So we can yes end that, which I'll be going into. I think it's a really good way. If you haven't used it, I just tabbed and then I changed the input. And that's one thing that I think I've also noticed as somebody that's now been programming a bit with these AI assisted things is I notice in myself approval fatigue. I'm sure you've noticed it too. Maybe some of you are even running AI assisted coding and stuff like this with YOLO mode, which, but if it's just like a vibe coding project and you don't care, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you how to do things. I just have some concerns from a security and privacy point of view, but we'll get more into those later. But you can always tab and say like, yes, and yes, but yes, whatever it is to modify. And of course, it's going to go through another loop, but them's the breaks sometimes. So I'd love to hear from you. Are you using Claude Code? Are you using Codex? Are you using any of these kind of AI vendor AI assistants? And if so, how's that going for you? Do you have concerns? Do you have thoughts? What do you think about? What do you want to learn from me too? If there's anything that you've been noticing or thinking about. And then if you do get started using Claude with local models, I'd love to hear, was this helpful for you? How can I be more helpful for you? What do you want to know to take that jump and get started? I will be also sharing a blog post so that it has some of my tips step by step that you can go through. And I look forward to seeing you in future videos where we'll definitely look at open code and we'll definitely take a look at privacy and security problems and recommendations if you're going to use Claude Code with or without local models. So I'll see you there. We'll post note. My buddy got it just a few seconds after I stopped recording. See you next time.